Welcome to another wonderful evening of World of Warships. This is the Solomon Islands map, and there's a little protected cove up here in B. The objective is to capture either capture all three A, B, and C. One of the tricks is to slide up here into this little protected cove and sit there for about 15-20 seconds, get time in the circle, and capture the zone, and then get out of town before someone realizes you're there. Um, if they realize you're there, you tend to be a sitting duck. Up until then, it's a little cove, so it's very hard to actually get any artillery shots in there or torpedo shots there unless you come all the way out and expose yourself on our side of the slot. Now, there's usually a few foolish people that try and force their way through the slots, and it's not a real good idea because the minute you come out the other side, instead of one-on-one engagements, you tend to have three or four or five people shooting at you. So I am not actually going to try and force my way through the slot. I'm just going to sit in this little cove up here and snipe at the foolish ones who do try and force their way through. Like I say, eventually you knock off a few of the foolish ones and everybody else goes off to another zone and you get the capture. I am in the zone and we have almost got it captured. It is almost, yep, we captured it. So now we just got to see if there's any foolish people we can pick off before we go looking for targets elsewhere. So I have a Russian destroyer behind me. He's got a whole plethora of torpedoes and he's launching them. They're not particularly long range. His torpedoes will not go but halfway down the slot. Some of the Japanese torpedoes, they'll cover the full length of the slot and come out the other end. But for the most part, the Russians are pretty short range torpedoes. And so we'll see who the first foolish person is. Oh, look at this. And the first foolish one is one of my teammates. And the Russian torpedoes actually hit him. He eats some of our own torpedoes. Not good. But like I say, foolish people. He actually gets sunk by torpedoes going the other direction. So I don't know. He probably accounted for like eating 5 or 6 torpedoes there. He is definitely full of holes, and so we'll wait and see what develops here. And it's a bit of a waiting game. Bit nerve-wracking. And in the meantime, that Russian destroyer who just shot my own teammate is circling around behind me. I have to have some confidence that he isn't actually going to torpedo me, but since I'm not moving, oh, here comes our first victim, the Wicks. So he's launched a bunch of torpedoes. I can't see him or shoot him. There is a bunch of torpedoes going each way, and all those torpedoes he shot at me can't get to me, they miss. And so we'll see him come out in front of me here. He thinks I've shot the torpedoes. Those were not my torpedoes. Oh, but I didn't get that kill. That would have been my kill, except his opponent, or my opponent actually shot his own teammate in the back. Somebody will be wearing pink next game. I guess it's that walkie-talkie. So that's the first, or actually second foolish one down, one for each team. I am detected at this point, so they know where I'm at, and if they're smart about this, they ought to be able to pick me off. But so far, nobody has shown the ability, and with this Russian behind me, I've got a little bit of confidence that we have a superiority of fire, rate of fire. However, I'm going to pull over here and get in a little tighter into this cove. just to make it a little harder for them to hit me. And we'll see what develops next. Let me back off so I can just get my torpedoes clear of the peninsula. And the one thing about the Russians, they got a lot of torpedoes and they load pretty fast. They're not that powerful or go that far, but a lot of them and a high rate of fire. So here comes our next victim. And let's see who's going to get him. Oh, just missed those Russian torpedoes. And I'm lining up on him. If he continues around just a little more, I will have him. Somebody's trying to hit me with artillery, blowing up the rocks in front of me. Can't quite get to me. Now the St. Louis knows I'm there, and it's come to a crawl. He doesn't want to get out in front of me because he knows I have torpedoes. But he can't quite get around to the point where he can shoot at me. However, the Russian destroyer behind me, he's got a bunch of torpedoes, and he'll start lobbing them at the St. Louis. Oh, and the Wakataki's making a run. This is actually a pretty good run. This is what he should have done, but I'm waiting, and I've got torpedoes just beyond the point. So he has a split second before my torpedoes get him, and he doesn't launch in time. So he's down. So that brings us up to 3 foolish people. And the St. Louis is backing off. The Novik's out there. And again, these guys are just, because they are so afraid of being torped, they are making themselves sitting ducks for the Russian destroyer behind me. And there comes some more of those torpedoes. And so far, he hasn't shot me. I'm happy about that. Let's see if he can get somebody else. Oh, yes, he gets the Novik. And does it go down? Down goes the Novik. We're up to 4 now. Keep count here. So now the St. Louis is going, oh, okay, all the torpedoes are shot. I can walk up point blank range and just blast this guy. Because, he's out of torpedoes, except I'm not the one that shot those torpedoes. I have got a bunch waiting for him. And there they go. And at point blank range, down goes the St. Louis. Now we're up to 5. Now, this is the bulk of the enemy fleet. I think there's 12 of them. We've already had 5 foolish people sunk all here in one spot. And the 2 of us, myself, which is driving the Wix destroyer, and then the Russian destroyer, 2 destroyers are basically stoppering up the whole middle here against multiple opponents. And what that means is that my other teammates out on the other circles at this point have a numerical superiority. The opponents had a numerical superiority here, but they've not been able to make use of it. And that's part of the strategic advantage we give, and that is we're basically negating where they have the numerical advantage. Now I shoot at the St. Louis, and he runs to get away from my shots, but now he's got the second set of torpedoes coming in from the Russian destroyer. I'll flip over to guns and add a little bit there, but those torpedoes are sufficient to put him down. That brings us up to 6 people sunk here in the strait. So half of their team went down. They never ever captured the zone, and we did it all with 2 destroyers, which is a wonderful force multiplier. We now have A and B well in hand. You can see we actually have a cruiser on the far side of B. We have stoppered up B so long that my entire team has come around from the backside and taken the rest of that zone. So now I can go out and do more traditional destroyer maneuvers. And let's see, there's a Chester way out here in front of me. I'm beyond visible range at this point. Unfortunately, the American destroyers, you have to get within visible range to launch the torpedoes, which means that the cruisers can usually make pretty good evasive moves. So the only way to counter that is to come up at point blank range so that they don't have time to maneuver. So at this extreme range, I'll start putting some rounds out, but that's more of an annoyance. I am not going to sink the Chester with the artillery that I've got on the wicks. I do set fire to him, and you'll see he puts out the fire here in a moment. But that means he's used up his one repair. He won't be able to stop flooding, so I can get just one torpedo into him. He will flood. So first set of torpedoes out here. I'm going to hold my second set because he's going to start to turn here. I want to see when and where he starts his turn. And sure enough, he started his turn. There he goes. Now I know where he's going, and I'll put some torpedoes out there. And he eats a couple of torpedoes, and down he goes. So I think I'm up to, let's see, that's my third one for the game. And see if I can score a few more points chasing down this Wicks in front of me. It looks like he is the last survivor of the team. And there are a lot of people out hunting for him, and he's back around the island. I'm not sure I'll get there in time, but you know, you always plan on some of this working out. But he's losing health real fast here. He's getting pummeled from all sides. So this game should end here pretty quickly. But this is a rather silly silly game that went on there in the B zone that I just couldn't believe how fortunate we were, or how silly our opponent was. And down goes the Wicks, and see our final scores here. There's the Startozoyov and myself. We got 6 of the 12 ships sunk, and there were just 2 of us in that one zone doing